Hey everyone, Jeff here, and this tutorial is called How to Color Your Digital Art. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a rock together, and then we're going to color it. And this will be a really good exercise, really good beginner exercise to help you build confidence and uh, add some new tools to your art resource kit. So we're just going to get started here. So step one, first we need to have a rock to color. So that's the most important step right now. So we're going to do that. We're going to draw a rock, and we're going to do it Jeff Hunt style. And the first rule to doing anything in digital art is don't be boring. I actually learned that from another mentor. But it's so true. Like people want to see your art, but they don't want to see boring stuff. So we're gonna try and make this as awesome as we can. Okay, so I have a basic shape of a rock here, and with some grass here. All right, now we've got our layer stack here on the right, and we're gonna create a new layer. And we're going to put that underneath this line art. No, I didn't put a whole lot of time into the line art because we're going to color this. So the shading that we're going to do first is going to uh, so what I like to do is I like to take the selection tool and we're going to make a selection. Now we need to think about where the light's coming from. So we're going to have the light. I should probably draw it. Let me do this. We're going to say our light's coming from this direction. Okay, so selection tool, and I use the wand. It just gives me a little more flexibility. So so we're saying the light is coming from here. So this is going to be more lit. That means that this half of our rock is going to be in shadow. So we're going to draw the shadow. And I'm going to get a brush, a different brush, and we're just going to add some shading. And I'm using a textured airbrush. It's a little bit too dark. I could have just taken bucket tool. Now we're going to reduce the opacity here. This up a little bit. Yeah. Using the selection tool though gives us this really nice little edge. Okay, so if you look at our rock, kind of has this little curve right here. So this curve is actually going to get a little bit more light than the rest. So we're gonna do another selection, and we're gonna lighten this up a little bit. Now we're gonna do this part. Ah, had the wrong tool there. Mm-hmm. Here, there we go. So it's still in the shade. It's not as much in the shade because it's still going to get a little bit of light. Not a lot. In fact, we might even darken this up a little bit more. Okay. Now the rest of our rock is going to have more of a natural rock color. It's going to have an ambient, what we call ambient lighting, or the natural lighting, or the natural color of the rock as we would see it without there being any light. So we're gonna pick a. So we don't want what we want to do is we want to find a color that is in between the darkest part and where we've had a little bit of reflection hit it. So we're gonna choose a color in between these two. That might be a bit too light. So this process is actually referred to as laying in your values. So if you get your values, your lights and your darks established before you start putting the color on, you'll find that this is so much easier and there's a lot less going on, or a lot less of redos to do, so to speak. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this. So we've got, a um, pretty good rock going here so far. So now I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more detail. So I'm going to go to, I'm just going to add a new layer, and I'm going to use my other pencil here. Now I'm just going to draw in some cracks. Because we don't want it to be a boring rock. Old rocks, they're going to be affected by erosion and other things, which causes their faces to be not as smooth as what they used to be. And kind of add a little bit of contour to our rock too here. Go. Maybe we got a nice little chip here. There we go. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to do a new layer. And we're going to add some highlights. Essentially what I'm doing here is where the light would hit these cracks, you're going to have a shadow area, and then we're going to have kind of a lighted area. What you want to do is kind of pull those out a little bit. Makes our cracks more crackier. Okay. Take it, kind of blend this in a little bit. Okay, so now we have a rock. And I want to add a little bit more light going on up here. And when you're painting, at some point your line art just kind of becomes the guideline that you started with. It doesn't have to be the end all be all. Unless you're doing a comic book, because you can't, think they still have a lot of line arts. In most comic books, they're not completely painted out yet. Okay, so now we're ready to add some color. So I'm going to go very top of the. Well, actually, we're going to merge these. I'm going to merge these down. Let's see here. Merge layers. Here we go. Okay, now we're going to add a new layer, and we're going to change the blending mode to color. And I'm going to pick probably a nice blue. And I'm going to keep my saturation low. I'm probably going to keep it somewhere here. Fill. All right, let's see what that looks like. Now, got this little tool right here, options, where we'll just call it a toggle. It's our clipping mask. So we're going to enable the clipping mask. So when I add this color layer, it will add it only to where our design is. So I'm going to take my bucket tool now from up here and just tap anywhere. And as you can see, using a color layer, it acts as like a gradient map. it takes the color of the, it takes not the color, but it takes the values of the grays and the white and blacks and gives you a range of colors. So notice that the black is still black, but where the grays started to get darker, we know that's not replaced by a darker blue. And I'm going to take my eraser here and just do a little bit of cleanup. Oops. There we go. Clean some of this up here a bit. Okay. Now, so we've got a color layer, and I'm going to add a multiply layer. That's going to help accentuate these shadows. And I'm not going to need to change, well, let's make it a little bit darker, not that much. And then make sure my clipping layer is still set. Let's see here. Here we go. Lower the opacity a little bit. Okay. And then we'll add another new layer, and we're going to do some highlights. So soft light, lighten up here a little bit. And then I'm going to add another new layer. And this is where I like to go through and start adding some minor adjustments. And I'm just going over my original lines now. Again, the rule is to not be boring. I'm just adding some grass. And one more once over. Trying to make sure that the things that I want in the shadow are in the shadow still, and then things I don't need in the shadow. Not sure why that's doing. Should be oh. Yeah, I'm trying to keep in mind while I do this. That rock has texture to it, and just want to make sure that I'm not losing that texture as I do this. Okay. We're going to merge layers again. cheating is, one more multiply layer. Let's see, I'll zoom out of this a little bit. Let's see. Yeah. And then, I can add a quick background to this. You want a little bit, add a little bit of green to the. And there you have it. You have a colored rock. Um, didn't take too long. I find that when I draw, I tend to go into a zone. So if you hear me get really quiet, it's just me zoning out as I'm drawing. I could probably continue to render this rock for another additional half an hour. Like I could take this and we can even add a few more. Here we go. Add some more shapes and indications of rocks. This, but okay. But hey, I don't want to take you guys down too long of a journey, but this was fun. I hope you guys like this. I hope that you got something out of this, and let me know if you find this helpful. And have a great evening.